Imagine grabbing the cast of a silent comedy and putting them into a German expressionist world.
To me, this movie was about attempting something very challenging on actual 16mm film.
Well, the teleport system is probably unlike any film you might have seen before.
It's a story about love surviving through technology in harsh conditions of outer space where survival is most important because humanity has been banished from Earth. And so it's a story about a loving couple fighting through technology to find each other.
So they actually physically go through pain in order to find one another. It's a mixture of all sorts of different artistic forms, including primarily German expressionism.
I had never heard of those combinations coming together like that before.
The toughest challenge to overcome for this project is the fact that I scheduled over 150 shots. The problem with science fiction is that if you point the camera this way, you gotta build a set. Then you swap the camera and you face that way, you gotta build an entire new set. So in a way, we had to build more than 150 sets.
I thought it was very ambitious to be doing science fiction film with so many different sets.
It was a lot of hours, a lot of hard work was put into building multiple sets.
It was definitely way more complicated than anything we'd ever done.
The sets were just such a huge thing. I know Amanda and Celeste and everybody did a great job on those.
It was a little daunting, but I was excited. I mean, it sounded really cool, so I was just really hopeful that we could do the best we could and make it actually look the way Eddie had envisioned it to look.
We started shooting pretty close to the line for the deadline. I think we began shooting 2 weeks before the deadline, and most of it was done like the week before.
I knew there was going to be some very interesting things happening.
As the producer, it's technically my job to handle all that organization and stuff like that, but Eddie over here is a little bit of an artistic hermit, and he likes to keep to himself a lot until the last second, and so he would show up to set with these shot lists that would have like 60 plus shots just in one day, and come strolling in completely optimistic that we can handle it, but obviously I didn't want to burst his bubble right away, but I knew it was so far off the mark and we were not going to get through half of them.
As we were getting closer and closer to the deadline, people would come up to us and say that we weren't going to finish in time, that Eddie wasn't going to be able to edit it in time.
One of our plans was to film from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. and that ended up stretching out until 6 a.m. on Wednesday, so Thursday classes definitely got pushed back in priorities.
It kept getting extended.
The 6 a.m. day.
The shoots kept going and going and going, and I initially looked at the shot list, and it was very long, but I wasn't going to say no to Eddie because I knew that he wanted them all.
Kind of the more we went, the more motivated we got to finish it.
And so the more stressed out he gets, the harder he works. I don't know how he keeps working on so little sleep. He pushes himself really hard. But we ended up pulling it off, and that's in big part because of a core group of very dedicated members.
We were really, really dedicated, and we made it.
We
So.
proved them wrong.
I've heard Eddie talking about this since I first met him in 102 class. He's wanted to make this film, and so when I got an email to sign up for it, I was super excited because I know that he'd been thinking a lot about it. And so to me, this film is kind of Eddie's bread and butter, something that he'd been wanting to do for a long time. And I think it's so awesome that we were able to take on the challenge and actually end up with an end product that everyone's proud of and happy with.